thinking again about certain aspects of British culture that annoy me. I find some of the US hippie currents quite interesting, but British hippies, especially British hippie women, really irritate me. Indeed, they're all completely lost in their egos and constantly waffle bullshit. All the time, they're just talking bullshit. Indeed, there was one Rethink Mental Illness staff member who reminds me of Emma Ferris, which automatically annoys me. And she was trying to tell me that Aleister Crowley was working for the light. So this demonic creep who committed infanticide numerous times was supposedly working for the light. Now, what do they mean when they talk about the light? Sounds like Luciferianism to me. So it's interesting to consider that many of these British hippie women are actually Luciferians. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the many British hippie women in the southwest are involved in the cannibalism trade and often engage in cannibalism themselves. So it's interesting, for instance, take Amy McAllister of Calm. She is a cannibal, and you can see this by the way her chin has formed. So it's interesting, she probably wasn't born with a chin the way her chin is now, but due to constant consumption of human meat while claiming publicly to be a vegetarian or a vegan, the constant consumption of human meat has caused her chin to develop in a specific way. So it's all very interesting to consider the fact that many British hippies are involved in the cannibal meat trade, which is operative through the butcher shops. It's interesting to consider that many of these British hippies consider themselves vegans or vegetarians, but secretly engage in human sacrifice and consume cannibal meat. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, as I've stated before, the butcher shops in Wiltshire are central to the promotion and continuation of cannibal tendencies. Indeed, in the butcher shops, the pork is human meat, and much of this human meat is obtained from many homeless people who have suddenly disappeared, and various other population elements that are considered disposable by the Freemasons. The Freemasons, via British police surveillance networks, target specific population demographics, disappear these individuals, and then they are taken to the basement systems beneath butcher shops, which basically act as human abattoirs, and they are sacrificed to the Masonic demon gods by the butcher masons, and then their meat is cut up and served as pork in the butcher shops, such as Walter Rose and Sons in Devizes and C.J. Robbins in Warminster, and their organs are harvested and sold on the black market by the Albanian mob. Indeed, the Albanian mob seem to control the majority of the organ trade in Britain for the British police. Indeed, the main customers of the Albanian mob regarding the organs harvested in the butcher's shops are Russian citizens, Romanian citizens, Israeli citizens, and Belgian citizens, interestingly. So it's all very interesting to wonder where exactly are the organs of the ritually sacrificed homeless ending up. And it seems that they're ending up in Russia, Romania, Israel, and Belgium. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, there is a lot of interconnectivity between the Albanian mafiosi and the Russian mob, despite a supposed conflict between these two mobs. There isn't actually a conflict between the Russian mob and the Albanian mafia. Indeed, they engage in operations together, and in Britain, they are both hosted by the British police networks. So it's interesting that while the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst run much of the child trafficking circuit, the Albanian and Russian mobs run the organ circuit. So it's interesting to consider the Devizes police organ harvesting ring operating through Walter Rose and Sons butcher shop has Albanian mob and Russian mob connections. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, the Russian mob in Wiltshire are mainly operating out of Salisbury, interestingly. So one has to consider the possibility of the butcher shops in Salisbury being part of this network of butcher Freemasons that are slaughtering homeless people, selling their meat as pork, and harvesting the organs and selling them on to the Albanian and Russian mobs to basically traffic the organs to several foreign destinations. It's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the British intelligence services are wondering exactly what is going on in Wiltshire. So it seems that there isn't that much British intelligence or British security service oversight over these operations, which means these operations are being managed by the British police. This is all a large British police circuit. So it's all very interesting to consider what exactly the British police and the populations of Devizes, Calne and Warminster are trying to stop being revealed. So it's interesting. Indeed, I have begun making enemies in Warminster, especially the mayor, the former mayor, and the local Freemasons, which is interesting considering these people are naturally my targets for exposure. So it's only natural that we are going to become enemies. Indeed, I'm going to continue to reveal the truth about Freemasonry in Britain and the police in Britain for as long as this blog can possibly continue. Indeed, it's all very interesting to note that the Ferris family of Devizes, Chippenham and Melksham were heavily involved in my targeting, and indeed it was Emma Ferris's mother who was operating the radiation equipment. It's interesting that the beaming seems to have died down in the last few days. So it's all very interesting to note that it was Emma Ferris's mother who was operating the radiation psychotronic technology against me. I do not quite understand how she was able to obtain that kind of technology, but I imagine it was through the mob. So it's interesting which mob would have provided the radiation beam technology. Indeed, I do not doubt it was the Albanian mob that provided Emma Ferris's mother with the psychotronic microwave radiation equipment, which is trained on my brainwaves to target me while I'm in my residence. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider how ill the radiation has been making me. Indeed, it has been making me so weak that a lot of the day I cannot do any research, I cannot do any reading, I cannot operate or function properly, which is part of Zesetzung tactics. Anyway, but it's interesting to note that this beaming seems to have actually been carried out by a private citizen, but with the full knowledge of Melksham police. So one has to consider that this actually was a British police operation. Indeed, the Ferris family of Devizes, Chippenham and Melksham are a police family. They are police operatives and are active in the organ trade and child trafficking trade around Devizes, i.e. coordinated by the Wiltshire Police Headquarters. It's all very interesting to note the amount of families in Wiltshire that want to see me chopped up on a butcher's slab. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, there are networks of Chippenham mobsters that want to annihilate me for offences against a certain Chippenham mobster 5 or 6 years ago. So it's all very interesting to note. Nothing will come of that, though. This guy's not connected enough, so it's all very interesting to consider that all of these Anglos in Wiltshire wish to have me chopped up on a butcher slab for exposing their rings. Indeed, this video seems to be more of a schizophrenic video diary rather than a deep dive into intelligence matters. But that's alright. Indeed, I can't always be completely focused on the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst and the history of Illuminism. Though that is my main passion, it's important to also talk about the direct Wiltshire Police interconnecting rings and how they interconnect with local people. Because to be honest with you, the Devizes ring interconnects with 40% of families in Wiltshire, which is interesting. Indeed, I'd estimate that 40% of Warminster want this to end. So it's interesting to consider we are going with 40%. However, in Devizes and Calne, the number is higher than that. So it's all very interesting to note the fact that Vermin, i.e. Cass Lynch, whose real name I believe is Joseph, is trying to organize a satanic cult to attack me in the streets of Warminster for exposing the truth about him. So it's all very interesting. I now have so many different networks targeting me, from satanic cults to Albanian mobsters to British policemen to British Freemasons to Russian military intelligence operatives, i.e. Russian spies, and all sorts of networks are targeting me at the moment. Indeed, there are so many people operative in the Warminster area that I believe people in the town are going to start noticing all of these new arrivals and wondering if all of these new arrivals have something to do with my presence here, which means Warminster residents are probably going to attempt to scare me out of the town because of the trouble I'm causing. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, a lot of British intelligence are watching this and wondering, why is the British intelligence so compartmentalized that they do not actually know what is going on in Wiltshire? It seems that Wiltshire and the rings within Wiltshire are a closely guarded state secret, even from the operatives of British intelligence themselves. So this says a lot. Who is running these rings in Wiltshire? It's the British intelligence factions that are Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst Continuum controlled, i.e. Illuminists. So it's the Illuminists within the British intelligence structure that are running the Wiltshire rings. So the Devizes ring is basically a direct Illuminati ring, and its crown connections are with Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operatives within the Crown Templar network. So it's all very interesting to notice. Indeed, the organ trade in Britain is run by the Albanian mob, with direct license from Illuminized Masonic lodges. So it's all very interesting to note all of these aspects and how they are interconnecting, and exactly how the Wiltshire Police Headquarters setup is running these criminal operations. Indeed, when I first started exposing the Wiltshire Police networks 6 years ago, I wasn't fully in tune with the extent of what was going on. So in many ways, I'm quite grateful for the fact that I was locked up in a mental asylum for 5 years, because I was able to consolidate my theories. After my brain had come back to me, I actually had wasted a whole 3 years. About 3 years and 2 months I wasted because of the fact that the MI6 networks coordinated by Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operatives, i.e. Graham Bigger of the National Crime Agency, used a brain-sucking device on me. And this brain-sucking device, along with regular doses of electrode shock, basically made me forget who I was and what I'd done, and forget the fact that I'd exposed the Wiltshire Police networks quite comprehensively in the years 2020 and 2021. So I basically spent September 2021 until September 2024 as a vegetable. I'd basically been lobotomized in a sense through this brain-sucking mechanism that the MI6 networks had used on me, which is interesting considering I've been targeting the British police. This particular MI6 network must have been a Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst interconnected network, and therefore was a Satanist network within British intelligence. Indeed, the British police operatives in Wiltshire running these rings are themselves Satanists. The Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst are themselves Satanists, and the Albanian mobsters are satanic by nature. So it's all very interesting to consider the fact that, yes, so during my incarceration in the mental asylum, after September 2024, I set about reading as many books as I possibly could, and therefore had the time to consolidate my theories, and therefore my exposures now are much more consolidated than they were in 2020 and 2021. Also add in the fact that I am no longer using amphetamines. So I'm able to control my thoughts a little better. Indeed, during my exposures during 2021, my brain actually turned to soup, because the Albanian mobsters were using a brain scrambling device on me, some sort of directed energy weapon, remote brain scrambling device, which basically made my brain turn to soup. It's interesting that the Ferris family were able to obtain this technology from the Albanian mob, the microwave technology that has been harassing me since July 2020. It's interesting to note this. Indeed, I do believe that I was condemned to death on the 28th of July by Samuel Buchan of MI6 and a Master Mason of the Grand Lodge of England. However, the actual physical use of the weaponry was carried out by Emma Ferris's mother. So it's all very interesting to note. It's strange how the beams have died down the last 2 or 3 days. Indeed, it seems, indeed I'm hoping that something has happened to Emma Ferris's mother, which means that I will no longer have to undergo this harassment and this constant irradiation by the Ferris family, operating with the full knowledge of Melksham Police. Interestingly, as I've stated before, I was raped in Melksham Police custody on Monday the 7th of September 2020 by 9 constables of Devizes Police, commanded by PC James Spencer. So, do you not think it's understandable that I absolutely loathe the British police? I know they are Satanists, and they operate rape gangs of Faith of Ishmael adherents for their own pleasure. I know this, and It's really quite disturbing indeed. These rings around Wiltshire have Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst oversight. So it's interesting, the British intelligence factions that are overseeing the Wiltshire rings are Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operatives, which directly interlinks us back to my theories on the Bavarian Illuminati, that the Bavarian Illuminati operate through the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst for the end game, which is the institution of basically a pagan religion of fertility rites, complete with cannibalism, necrophilia, and human sacrifice. This is what these Nazi Satanists and the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst wish to achieve. And through their operations, coordinated by insinuating brethren of the Bavarian Illuminati, they wish to construct human sacrifice religion, fertility rites, and temples, basically, that will constitute the so-called one world religion. So I try to think more locally about this, rather than thinking about a global agenda. I prefer to think more in local terms, which is why I'm focusing a lot of my videos at the moment on the direct Wiltshire region, which I think is the best way to do things, because we need to analyze these networks, such as the networks of Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operatives operating out of Warminster military base, who are running the majority of satanic covens in this town. So it's all very interesting to consider. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there now.